And good morning or good evening, sports fans. I don't think they can hear us here.
Can't hear us.
Yeah, well, we got our mask on, so as you can see. Okay, but
it's hard, isn't it?
oh, it's very hard. It's very hard.
Can't talk with a mask on.
I'm glad I don't have to teach like that. Okay, it's a lot of fun. We're live right here on the Coach's Corner Sports Network. It's the Karl DeMasi Sports Report. The Coach and AD Wednesday Night Live. The show before us. Rubbin' and Grubbin' ran a little late, so we're here. We got our 4 guests waiting for us, and it's this man's idea. Why not do a Savannah Sports Media Roundtable? Hey, we talk about the athletes, we talk about the coaches, the ADs, but we don't talk about the sports media. How has it affected them?
Oh, without a doubt, man. This is had to be one of the hardest times that these guys have had covering athletics the last 5 to 6 months, and I'm sure they're glad some normalcy is coming back, and they're covering some positive stories and not the negative stuff of things being canceled every single day.
All right, so tonight's theme, the Savannah Sports Media, how COVID-19 has affected them, and, of course, how they see it affecting the Savannah area. Let's go one by one. The man with the most experience, not in Savannah, but in sports journalism. This man's been doing it, I think, for over 32 years. He's been here in Savannah since 2010. The man, I call him Dennis, the night shift Knight from the Savannah Morning News, Dennis Knight. Dennis, thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me, Coach. Hey, Coach Griff, good to see you.
You got an introduction. You got to the crowd.
Yeah, you hyped me up. I am the most senior, that's for sure.
You and me both, buddy. You and me both. Next guy's been here since 2006. Another guy, by the way, of Georgia Southern. He's over at WJCL. Now he's the anchor man and sports director. You name it, he'll do everything. He'll be the weather reporter. Joining us, as always, the big guy, Frank Sulkowski. Frank, there you go.
Hey, Chad, this is for you, the AD.
Yeah, oh, yeah. We got to get you an updated version, man. That's old school right there.
Well, yeah, it's old school, and my head has gotten bigger. Let's get the thing off. All right, how about that?
There we go. And this guy is another California guy. We got another Cali guy, but he's a Gonzaga fan, not a San Jose fan. But straight from WSAV, sports director Greg Talbott, and go Bulldogs in his mind.
Thank you so much, Karl. Thank you. You're a great hype man. I should get you on my SoundCloud rap coming up next.
All right, you got to teach me this lingo, buddy, because you're like the kid that likes, what up? I mean, what is that? I mean, but, we'll get to
I
that.
don't know.
And then
I'm less than a year from 30, man. I'm not as young as I look. I feel like an old man.
Believe me, you're young. And then, of course, the next guy from WTOC, he's the new kid on the block. He's been here 4 years. It seems like to me he's been here forever. He's the sports director over at WTOC, Jake Wallace. Jake, thanks for coming on.
Karl, thank you for having me. It just feels like forever, man. It hasn't been forever. It just feels like forever. But glad to do this. Glad to have some friendly faces. With us virtually, I don't think there's going to be an anchorman level brawl, but I do have my trident just in case. So we're good to go.
Yeah, Sulkowski shows up with the helmet. We got Talbott over there with the bulldog behind him, probably somewhere. And you can bring your little boy out there. He'll protect you.
Yeah, it's bath time right now, so he's ready to go. He's bigger every day, but we're going to try to hold him out of the Anchorman Fight Club for at least a few more years. We'll wait till he's like 6.
Well, Frank and Dennis can tell you, and I can tell you, and so can Chad. And Greg, no kids yet, but it goes so quick. It goes so quick, Jake.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's he started school back a couple months ago, and my wife sent first day pictures, and he was sitting down. He couldn't sit up. Or he couldn't stand up for his first day of school, first day of daycare picture. Second year, he's standing up. He's over the sign. It's incredible.
Just give him a ball. He's going to have a good time, right?
I know it. Left-handed pitcher. That's what we're going for. Lefty pitcher.
Hey, Dennis will tell you. Frank will tell you. Greg will tell you. Get the golf club in his hand. Get the golf club.
Yeah, as long as I don't teach him golf, he's going to be okay. We'll get that in his hands, but as long as I'm not the one teaching him, we'll be all right.
All right, to kick this off tonight, it's the Savannah Sports Media Roundtable. We got the 3 sports directors from the 3 TV stations, and, of course, we got the man that roams the sidelines. He's going to have to give some lessons to Frank now to stay out of the way because Frank's going to be a little immobile there. But I wanted to know, How has the sports media industry been affected by the current state of COVID-19? And if you guys want to get into it in the Savannah area.
Dennis, go ahead. Age before beauty.
Okay, well, first off, this is my new office here in my dining room. So
Sounds
I've
like
been working from home since mid-March, and it's been a big challenge. You know, there's not been many live sports to cover like we're used to seeing out there. We would have been covering baseball and track and field and soccer during the spring. That all got canceled, and I know that hit Coach Griffin really personally, being the coach over there at Calvary of both the boys and girls teams, and all the athletes that we cover. It was really sad to see that, how it all went down. And then over this whole summer, we've been all reporting about, you know, is football going to come in the fall? And it seems like there's new developments every day with COVID cancellations and, you know, the college scene. But it's really been just a crazy time to be a sports reporter, that's for sure.
Well, Frank,
Yeah, I mean, I'll
talk about the college thing as well. Like, from how, you know, from the fact that Georgia Southern right now is still going in comparison, it seems like it's really just a demographic of, hey, the South have said we're going to play. You know, it's really, it looks like it's just a total geographical thing. I'm not doing a ton of research about other conferences around the country that are smaller and might be playing, and you guys can fill it in. But talk about just knowing right now the current situation of Georgia Southern going out and pressing and playing football and what that means to all of you guys. But Frank, we'll start with you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just like the other guys, you know, it's been refreshing to have a little bit of normalcy, even though the way we cover it isn't normal. I mean, having to keep the distance and wear masks and having to, you know, not have that one-on-one interaction with the guys, but just to be able to go out there and cover sports, you know, collegiately, even being able to get out to some of these high school softball games and volleyball games, it just does so much for your psyche. And I can only imagine what it means to those student athletes and coaches. I mean, this is their livelihood. I mean, this is what they prepare to do. And you guys know it. You know, getting that opportunity to be back on the fields and the courts and have some kind of normalcy is so refreshing. And I don't want to speak for everybody here, but especially for us too. I mean, we've missed that, being, you know, over the summer and going back to last spring when things were just abruptly cut. You know, you don't get a chance to cover the state championships and the rivalry games. And then there's so much uncertainty about what's happening that now that it's quickly come upon us that, hey, I mean, as it stands, 2 weeks from this Friday, there's going to be high school football being played. I mean, so you almost get into a lull. You're so used to things being canceled and the negative news. It's so nice and it's awesome to be able to report positive things about things moving forward and you know, expectations and goals. It's so nice to be able to talk about that kind of stuff again.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Greg, going to you and talking about, you know, just the general coverage of sports. You know, I know from Dennis's side, you got the print media and what you can and can't do and covering things, and now Georgia Southern's back. And, you know, just for you guys, once again, getting back in the college scene, knowing that Georgia Southern's what happened, high school athletics in general, we've got volleyball going on, softball going on. 2 weeks from now, you know, football is going on as well. That was a great email today from Georgia High School. I ain't gonna lie, I was super nervous last week with the email coming out and being so cryptic, you know, and then we get this today about, hey, as of right now, we're going forth. The kickoff game's on September 4th. And so, Greg, from your perspective, and seeing that, you know, now you can kind of set a schedule and a calendar of what you guys are going to cover.
Yeah, no kidding. Our whole attitude at WSAV, as far as Connor Del Preet and I, the fact that we get to be in this part of the country that is dedicated to playing sports right now, as opposed to where Dennis and I are from, which is the San Francisco Bay Area, it's kind of a therefore the grace of God go I thing. Like, we are all so fortunate that we get to be useful again. Chad, I was just talking to you the other day. We're broadcasting high school football live on WSAV CW starting in 2.5 weeks. We booked our first 3 live games. We have a live local sports being broadcast on television every Friday night. That's the thing that I'm so excited about, is because people are going to be excited to go out to the games. That is important. I mean, obviously it'll be school by school or county by county in terms of who's allowed in, how far apart they have to sit, whether they have to wear masks, all that stuff. But the fact that at our station we get to broadcast live high school football on TV, that we're going to get to be the conduit to people who still don't feel really safe to go outside. We can still beam live local sports into their homes. That's what I've been hoping for since March. And the fact that it looks like it's going to happen on September 4th, that's the best news that I can think of, and I'm glad we got it.
And Jake, over to your side, I know you've had your hands tied. Not much sports on TV, or not much sports people think that we can't talk about. From your aspect, being the director of sports, how does it work in the TV industry where people want to still get their sports?
You just have to think about things creatively. I think you find the stories that maybe, I don't want to say get lost in the shuffle, but maybe kind of find themselves a little bit further behind the actual games and the results and the highlights, and you go find those stories because they are still out there. And I think that's what you have to do, especially early in this thing when there was nothing, when everything was shut down. There are no practices, there are no games. It is simply just empty fields and empty stadiums. That was a challenge. And I'm sure all three of these guys will tell you that was a really, really tough month and a half period where you're looking for anything to tell. And, we here in this area got lucky with the heritage and having an actual pro golf tournament come to our area that allowed us a week of something to cover, and it happened at just the right time. But I know for me, it's not a challenge, a challenge that you accept is, okay, let's go find something else to tell that maybe gets lost in the shuffle at some points during the seasons when everything is so hot and heavy of trying to go to different games and talk about the storylines coming up on a big Friday night. Let's go find that kid or that coach or whatever that has an interesting life story that we can talk about and tell at this point, because it doesn't matter if there's a game, doesn't matter if they're playing. That story is still good and still one that deserves to be told.
And Dennis, watching these kids come out and play and the coaches come out and play and you're giving them phone calls, what is the reaction from the coaches and the kids dealing with COVID-19 and the uncertainty if it's going to continue or it's just going to end?
Well, I was talking with Coach Britt over at BC about the same thing when I went to their first practice with helmets, I think it was a couple of weeks back, and they had a positive COVID test. And he said his job has changed so much under these circumstances where he's become like a COVID coach, where he's having to deal and manage all these different scenarios that he would have never imagined, a year or two ago. So he said he's not getting to coach the X's and O's like he wanted to. Hopefully that's changing a bit now as things are moving forward with the scrimmage they had last week and everything. But he said his role has really changed, and, the trainers are playing a big role in helping make sure everyone stays healthy and, keeps their hands clean, wears masks when possible, all that kind of thing. So it's a whole new world for coaches out there. And I know Coach Chad knows that firsthand.
Well, and Dennis, to kind of piggyback off that, talking to football coaches, especially this summertime, there's so many things that they're worried about just in terms of the heat, keeping an eye on the wet bulb, making sure everybody's getting enough water breaks, keeping an eye, especially when they start going to helmets and pads, keeping an eye out for concussion stuff. This added another thing on top of it. And I know a lot of the coaches, and you guys have talked to them too, man, this was just another thing for them to kind of focus on and make sure of. And I know a lot of the coaches have told me, the ability to adapt as players and coaches and teams has been one of the greatest challenges here. And I've had a lot of guys tell me, if we have a football season, the team that's able to adapt the best and be able to kind of just roll with the punches, those are going to be the teams that are most successful at the end of the season. And I think what Dennis said is a really good – shows that point really well.
Frank, and talking about, Georgia Southern and, almost – you saw what Saban said the other week about, hey, their student athletes are safer here. I'm going to let you and Greg talk about that. Like, students are safer here at Alabama, Clemson, name whatever the school is, Georgia Southern, with the protocols and things in place, and even Savannah State last week when those guys were moving in. they feel like, hey, they're better here than they are away from that. And so with you guys kind of being on the front lines and seeing the college aspect, do you feel, obviously you feel the same way about it and what you've seen with how Georgia Southern and others have developed that kind of bubble mentality with athletics in college?
It is, and I agree with what Saban said. But now what we see is, you had that initial, you're at preseason practice, you're at camp, you're there when the rest of the student body isn't on campus. You were there when businesses were still shut down and the traffic wasn't there. Now what you're starting to see is the challenge of the entire student body. When you get 20,000 students, there, not just the student athletes or some of the folks who live there during the summer. And that's what we're starting to see. You're starting to see those clusters start popping up. Notre Dame we've seen. We saw Appalachian State last night, a cluster of student athletes, football players. You're starting to get more and more bodies. And one of the things that we've discussed is now it becomes a matter of, socially. Are you able to make that social sacrifice? Are you able to avoid going to that get-together down the street or at the apartment complex, next to the dorms? Are you going to be able to dip out on that, 25-cent wing night down the street? Those are going to be the big questions. And you've got to have that social sacrifice. Not necessarily, and when I've talked to, some of the college coaches, it's not so much their starters or the guys that have a lot of vested interest in the season. It's the 5th, 6th string walk-on offensive guard or the 8th string walk-on kicker who you may have to worry about. Those guys who aren't as vested. You got guys who are, even out of Georgia Southern, are hoping to get that opportunity to play at the next level. And they need that season to take place. So those guys are focused, and they're really taking care of their business as far as wearing a mask, being socially distant. It's going to be some of those young guys who haven't experienced it, maybe haven't experienced big time college football yet, that knows what kind of things could happen. It's those guys. You have those guys come in and they pass a virus. That's where you start getting those clusters. So the accountability of everybody on the roster, not just the starting quarterback, but everybody that's in there going through the practices, you got to keep your teammates accountable. And that's been one of the things I've been watching and keeping a close eye on as we get into this college preseason. Now we're going to start watching as those SEC schools. They just started practice earlier this week, let's remember, because that season got bumped back to later in September. So you're starting to see some of the big-time schools in the SEC starting to get their experience now that colleges are back in session. You're getting those student athletes interacting with the regular student body. So that bubble, it's gotten really small here as of late. So we're going to start knowing a lot more. And again, while it's great to say we're playing college football here in a couple of weeks, we very easily could not be playing college football. Let's be honest. These are a big couple of weeks coming up, especially on the college front.
Yeah, a couple things to piggyback off Frank. So we all follow each other on Twitter on this Zoom call here. I have not been shy about my advocacy for the fact that I think college sports is, in the fall, a much safer alternative than spring. I also don't think it's possible that these college athletic departments can survive the $75 or $100 million year without revenue. I don't know how it's possible college athletic departments survive without football revenue. I also think it's safer for the kids to be on campus. But like Frank said, let's not kid ourselves. I think we all saw that picture from Statesboro last week with that line of people not socially distancing, not wearing masks, standing in line outside a bar. That, I'm sure all of us, not if you agree, I think we all kind of pounded our head against a wall for 5 minutes when we saw that. And it, again, let's not make it political. Let's keep it to football. But it really is a bummer that everyone seems to want the same thing. And so we were all at the first day of Georgia Southern practice. I think it was last week. And I think it was Raymond Johnson III on the defensive line who said, it's not going to be a problem for me. I'm starting. I know that my responsibility is important. It's going to separate the men from the boys. I'll stay inside watching movies. But if you're 20 years old and the girls are inviting you out, and maybe someone has a fake ID who can get you in the bar, I think we all can acknowledge that the 19-year-old male brain may not be quite developed enough to say no to that. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Well, it's unbelievable. If you're watching this, you just tuned in. It's Wednesday Night Live, the Karl DeMasi Sports Report. The Coach and AD, we're doing the Savannah Sports Media Roundtable with Frank Sulkowski, WJCL, Dennis Knight, Savannah Morning News, Jake Wallace, WTOC, and Greg Talbott, WSAV. I'm going back to Dennis here. How can you guys play a role, whether it be on the high school level, Dennis, or on the college level? Jake, you guys that go visit the college, what kind of role can you guys play in keeping these kids straight?
And keeping them straight, you mean as far as the COVID stuff goes?
Yeah.
Well,
not the girls and not the bars.
No, I didn't mean it that way. But I guess, you show up, you're wearing a mask, you try to show what you think is important, and kind of like be a coach in a way, act like a coach would towards them, and show them leading by example in a way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you got your mask on all the time. I see that.
Yeah, I've been wearing one whenever I'm around groups of folks. So yeah, that's what we got to do in this day and age right now, and especially at the BC game scrimmage the other night, it looked like it was mandatory to get in, and most people were keeping them on once they were in. All the coaches had them on, and I know the trainers were all over the kids to keep that social distancing alive, during the game. It's kind of tough in football, though, once you get in the trenches. One of the kids had a face mask or a mask over his face mask. I noticed in the game, one of the linemen, which I thought might be a new trend.
But so just to piggyback off what Dennis said, what I found interesting was we all, Frank, I saw you there and I saw Dennis there. I know Jake was on a news story. We all walked into that Benedictine scrimmage and it looked like everyone was social distancing in the stands and wearing masks until about the time the game started. And at 7:00, there was a flush of people who came into the stadium. I mean, we can be honest here. Like we all showed the video on Friday night. Like sometime around 7:15, those stands filled up and the social distancing stopped and people stopped wearing masks. So like I'm not in a position to judge, but if people want to have high school football, you gotta try to find a way to get them to stay 6 feet apart and wear masks after the game starts.
And to elaborate on what you just said, Greg, I think it's important that we remember that we still have student athletes here in our area, just a couple counties, neighboring us, that aren't getting this chance.
Right.
So why go out there and screw it up? If you're a parent, if you're a fellow student, if you're a student athlete, don't ruin the opportunity you have. I mean, we've seen it. Savannah Chatham moving to October start. We've seen Liberty County on hold. We've seen South Effingham have to, postpone practice for almost 2 weeks because of it. There's a virus out there. You can't outrun it. All you can do is take the measures to help spread help stop the spread and not be one of those people who, transfers it. So if you're going to these games, if you're going to be one of those ones who's going to go to a high school football game on September 4th, you should be very thankful for that opportunity, and you should be doing your part that we can continue to see these type things. So, not to be political or anything like that, I'm wearing a mask. I'm going to be at a high school football game on September 4th, hopefully, and I'll have a mask on. I was at a volleyball game the other night. I had a mask on. Went to a softball game, had a mask on. Not only for me and for my family, but for those student athletes and those fans so they can continue to have this opportunity.
Jake?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't want to get in and say that we have any kind of pull over these kids. I mean, let's just be honest. There's very little things that they listen to us about, and that's fine, and I don't think they should either. I think what you're going to see, though, is the teams that are responsible. We mentioned the adaptability. Those are the teams that are going to win. The responsibility of these kids, the maturity of these kids, if they want to play, they're going to have to do this. Going back to what Raymond Johnson said the other day, Greg, not only did he say we have to be responsible, he said we feel like we're a championship level team. They don't get to prove that if the season gets canceled. And I think there's a lot of teams in our area that want to prove that we're really good. We have an opportunity to win a region championship, go deep in the state playoffs. You don't get that opportunity if the season gets canceled 2 weeks into the thing. So I think it's going to take a lot of maturity and a lot of responsibility for these kids to do something that's never been done before. We are living at a time that is, we keep hearing it, unprecedented. Nothing that we're doing now has ever been done before. So these kids, these coaches have a real chance to, I think, be kind of beacons of light, if we want to get really dramatic, for the rest of their community about, we're responsibly doing this. We're taking all the measures we need. Please help us. I think it's going to come from the kids and the coaches. If you want to see high school football, if they do it and show why they're doing it and show their responsibility and their maturity, hopefully the parents, hopefully the fans will follow, and we can have a high school football season.
Yeah, guys, that's what I mean as athletic directors. That's my biggest concern. I don't really worry. We've harped it and preached our student athletes over and over and over again. I don't really worry about them from the time we have them. I get super worried when they leave us and go out. I mean, listen, I'm no fool, and I look at social media and the kids at Tybee this summer. I mean, they're everywhere, and I get it. But we preach and preach and preach. It's like, listen, if you want to play, especially our seniors, like if you want to have a season, and you don't want to go through what the student athletes went through last spring, where it just stopped, which is a realization if things get out of control and student athletes don't take care of what they're doing, and wear a mask like we're doing in school. And listen, we had our first home softball game the other day against St. Vincent's, and all of us in our region, us, St. Vincent, Savannah Christian, Country Day, Aquinas, hey, we're all going to wear masks. That's the only way you go get into a game if you have masks. And we probably had about 10% who fought it, but really, the people that fought it in the stands weren't my grown-ups. It was me having to go to the outfield and talk to the student athletes from both sides. It's like, hey, guys, if you want to stay here, you got to put your mask on. If you don't want to stay here and support your other seniors, then leave, type deal. And in saying that, the biggest question I got for you guys, and I'll start with Dennis and Greg here from being from California, is how much of a voice now? You see the Pac-10, the Pac-12, and really talk about, hey, student athletes having a voice, college athletes having a voice, and having this platform now to say, hey, we'll play, but we want these things in place. Do you think they will get that at this point, with, hey, we want medical benefits because we don't know, we want this, we want that? Do you think that they will actually get it? Or do you think the fact that SEC, ACC, and others in Big 12 say, hey, we're playing, and yeah, we want to have a voice, but we feel like our voice is on the field? What do you guys think about, basically the West Coast versus East Coast and the South right now on what those student athletes, what they're trying to do compared to what's going on here?
Well, I guess I'll start on that. I think with the Pac-10 and the student athletes trying to have more of a voice and trying to organize together, I think it's a good thing. And I think it's starting there, and it's going to eventually make its way across the whole NCAA. But as far as it happening right now, we've seen where it was going with the Pac-12, how it's trying to get started there. Now they put their season on hold. But I think the idea and the theory of it is a good thing. And going forward, I think it's going to spread across the country. What do you think, Greg? You're on top of that stuff.
Yeah, you guys know how much I love a chance to tee up against my home state in the Pac-12. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the Pac-12 as it is, I was talking to my friends so I went to Gonzaga, but I'm from the West Coast, and I have friends who went to all the big Pac-12 universities. And first of all, I don't know how on earth Oregon State and Washington State think they can survive another year without football revenue to the tune of $100 million. I guess that's kind of a different question. It is great that student athletes are trying to get a bigger seat at the table. Now, the eventual end goal for all this, for everyone in the back of their minds, seems to be some kind of ability to collectively bargain or to form a student athlete union. I don't think that can legally happen with the current definition of NCAA amateurism. I don't see that happening anytime soon unless they go to probably the Supreme Court and win. But the more that student athletes find ways to wrestle some of the power away in the system is a good thing. But unrelated, the Pac-12 just continues to be so on brand in the most painful way.
All right, well, I'm going to get off this football stuff, and I'm going to go locally here, and we'll start with Jake and Frank. Whoever wants to take this first. Can you believe the Savannah Bananas went through a whole season and gave fans locally something to be excited about? It's just amazing how Jesse Cole and that group over there can keep Savannah entertained. And really, we haven't heard much about any of the Bananas coming down with a COVID-19 positive test. It's just amazing what they do over there at historic Racing Stadium.
Yeah,
Right?
They had, what they did was pretty incredible. I was talking to Jesse earlier today, and, the fact that they had games, I was at the press conference when they said, we're going to play and we're going to have fans. And I think there was a part of everybody, not just us in the media, but everybody in Savannah that was probably like, okay, yeah, we'll believe it when we see it. And then they came out and they played the first game and there were fans. And they went through the entire season and there were fans. And I'm happy for them. Listen, man, they gave us stuff to cover. The Bananas are great. They are, becoming more and more something that everyone kind of around the country who loves baseball, I think that maybe has fallen a little out of love with the game, at least at the major league level, looks at and says, oh, that's cool. I want to pay attention to that. So the fact that they got to have a season when there's a lot of other of those college leagues that didn't, especially at the college level as well, didn't get to have a season. I thought it was great for the kids that got to come play. Whether or not they're going to play much more baseball in their life, who knows? But they got a season to play at a time when a lot of other kids in their same shoes didn't. And that's what I thought was the best thing about it.
And just to follow what Jake just said, I think the big thing there is the way that Jesse and the whole Banana family, they approach their business. I mean, it is the fans first. That's the big thing. I mean, they're playing baseball, but baseball isn't the draw there. It's everything else that's going on around them at the ballpark. And I think that's the big thing to remember there. I mean, they were able to survive because it was just giving families a chance to, just get out of the house. And if they took the proper measures and they wore their masks and they social distance, the crowds weren't as large as they usually are at historic Racing Stadium. We're used to seeing, 4,000 plus every home game. This year, about 1,500 a home game. But it was nice to see that. And again, spoke with Jesse and them, and they just can't say enough about the local health officials and the city of Savannah, helping make sure that fans had this option. And it was so refreshing to see, smiles and people laughing when there's been so much negative, across the board, whether it's on social media or a newscast or in the newspapers or whatever. I mean, there's so many of the sad stories. It was positive to see it. And here we are, they're not done yet. They're going to play the Breakfast Bowl series. And no matter what happens over the next 9 games, we know that we have a couple more weeks of baseball. And that's awesome. It's going to be great just to be able to have some normalcy. And, I had my injury, so I only got to see 3 or 4 Bananas games. So I'm glad I have a couple more opportunities before they shut things down for the year.
And one of the reasons I think, Frank, that people were so happy with the fact that the Bananas came back, but the fashion that they came back in, again, we're not going to go down a political rabbit hole here, but so much of the conversation around the return of sports, whether it be college, NBA, upcoming NFL, has been so tied to what has been happening in the country since March, whether it be COVID or the protest movements. The fact that the Bananas came back and they entertained the fans. Again, I'm all for athletes being able to use their platforms and say whatever they want. But the fact that the Bananas did realize that, hey, let's just try to give briefly something that is purely enjoyable, I think that's to be commended, and it understands the concept of sports as entertainment.
Well, getting back to high school sports from that standpoint, with not having the spring, Dennis, we'll start with you. What is the thing you're most looking forward to that you miss so much, from covering live events? What is it that, hey, that first night we have a football game that you're looking so forward to?
Yeah, it's just the feeling, Friday Night Lights. I've been doing this for over 20 years now, and the players get excited, and I know it's not the same thing, but reporters kind of get excited too. We don't have to put our bodies on the line, at least, unless you're dodging the guy coming on the sideline.
Or Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's, and then, writing on deadline and just getting a chance to talk to the kids after they have, a good game. They're so excited and the coaches are excited. It's just a great time to be out there and see the next class of kids who are going to have a successful year here in Savannah.
Big guy.
Dennis touched on something right there, that deadline. I think that's what I'm most I want to feel alive again. I want to have that crunch for time. I mean, we've been, living for months where we have all day to produce a sportscast, or there's nothing really breaking going, or we're not rushing around. I need that. I need that shot of adrenaline. I need to know. I need to get 3 football games, get them edited, get them read. I need that. I gotta have that. I gotta have it in my veins soon. So I'm really looking forward to getting that adrenaline, just the environment of the fans and student athletes out there, and just being part of the whole thing again. I mean, Friday nights are truly special here in Georgia. Having played football in the state of Georgia and having covered my entire career here, I know what it means for different communities. I know what a Friday night in Pembroke means. I know what a Friday night in Richmond Hill means. I know what it means for the community. And that's what is going to be fun, is just seeing the community aspect of it all come together again. And again, we're not far away from it. So I'm starting to get real excited. And I'm also getting, instead of being that nervous, I'm starting to feel more and more confident that this thing's going to happen. So I just hope everybody follows the rules and does their part so we can see it come to fruition here in a couple weeks.
Jake?
Besides the rush thing, that's real for all of us. And if you've done this at any point in time, you know that. But I'll go back to just this. There is a smell, there is a sound of a high school Friday night when you walk into a stadium. It's hard to explain. It's weird. But you know it the second you walk in the stadium that's what it is. It's going to be different this year because obviously we're probably not going to have a sold-out stadium and fans, lines down the sidewalk to get in. But I have a feeling there's still going to be some of that. There's still going to be some of that energy, some of that magic when you walk into a stadium for the first time. You hear the music over the PA. Who knows if we'll hear bands or not. But there's something about just that first, I'm at a high school football game, I'm in a stadium, and this is a high school football game. The energy, the atmosphere, the sights, the sounds, the smells. It's been a while since we've experienced something like that. It's going to be really, really cool.
Greg?
Yeah, kind of like I said off the top of the call, I'm excited to be in the stadium, but I am most excited as part of my job that has me as a play-by-play man. The last couple of years, I've gotten to do Georgia Southern games on ESPN3, but truly the part of the WSAV job I love the most is Friday nights during the fall when I get to do play-by-play, sometimes alongside Karl. We're doing our Friday Night Blitz game of the week on WSAV. We just booked our first 3 games, and I can tell you, we're doing ECI at Savannah Christian week 1 on September 4th, and even though I'm sure there will be a 25% capacity rule, I'm sure there will be masks, I also know that there are people who aren't going to feel safe to go, who aren't going to feel safe going outside their homes. And the fact that that I get to narrate that, and the fact that I get to be part of the real-time narration of that story, of what is going to be a significant night around here for a bunch of different communities, especially Savannah, considering the public schools can't play until early October. To be able to shape that story in real time with my voice and my words and all the information we know, the stories of the kids, the cameras, the audio guys, to be able to capture a really unique once-in-a-lifetime weird experience after a weird once-in-a-lifetime 6 months. To get to do the play-by-play for that, I've been looking forward to that for months.
Well, guys, I don't want to keep you any longer. I told Dennis a half an hour. We're already at 40 minutes. Once again, I appreciate what you guys do. I'm a small part of the sports media. You guys are the story. Dennis, what you do in the newspaper is great. you guys on TV, bringing the stories about the kids and what's happening here. You do a great job, and I'm proud that I could just follow along with you guys and get that rush, get that adrenaline. And I know this guy's starting to enjoy it right now. He's itching every Saturday after the show. What are we talking about Wednesday night? So once again, I can't wait about it. And I'm going to give you a quick story. I mean, quick. The other day, we walked into the back of the Islands High School gym. We have our little storage closet. And I walked in. I had 2 young coaches with me. And I said to them, guys, this is the smell of football. This is a smell you'll never forget. After doing it for so long, you just got that smell. And I'm getting it right now, the rush, the adrenaline. There's something special about high school sports or sports in general, and that's what it's all about.
And just to add to that real quick, guys, that smell, my wife doesn't like it. It's not allowed in our house. So I really need it, but I'm not allowed to bring it home with me.
Frank, you've been doing it so long, I always assumed that was just your cologne.
No, that's not my musk, that's not it. So
anytime you want to come to Islands or Calvary, we'll put you in the equipment room.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Guys, hey, thank you for telling the stories that you do and how you're doing them. We are blessed in Savannah to have all 4 of you and what you do for these student athletes each and every week, how you help sustain us through the last 6 months. And we're looking forward to hopefully continue to have a season here. But we know whatever happens, you guys will tell the best story for these student athletes, and we're just blessed to have that. So thank you once again.
And exactly to Connor, Lindsay, and Amy, the other 3 sportscasters, I couldn't fit everybody on. We appreciate you too.
All right, we appreciate y'all having us. It's always good to start talking sports again. That's for sure.
Yeah. See you guys soon.
Yeah.
All right, take it easy.
Appreciate it.
Have fun. Hey, wash those hands.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
All right, man.
I mean, they're the guys that tell the story every night on TV or every day in the newspaper. I'm glad that I could jump on their coattails and be part of it. And I know you're starting to get the enjoyment of seeing the kids, talking to the kids and talking to the coaches and the people in general that are involved in sports. There's just something about it that, you just got to love it. You got to love it.
We can sit here all day and talk about all the protocols you have to deal with. We're having to deal with high school sports and just to get people in the games. And, we have our purple and gold scrimmage Friday night. And, hey, same thing. Gotta wear a mask. Hey, we'll have sanitation stations around, around the stadium. All those things. Hey, we're going to happy to go sit in the visitors' bleachers, space out, bring chairs, all those things. But, the biggest thing that I've learned, and we talk about this almost every week, Karl, is how appreciative. And that's what I hope that people will once again walk away with Friday night is, hey, just be appreciative that there's a sporting event going on. Wear your mask. Do the things that we ask you to do so we can sustain this so you can come back another Friday night or come to that volleyball game on Monday or go to that softball game again to watch your student athlete play. And that's what we're all trying to do is help these student athletes realize and everybody around like, hey, if you want to play, wear your mask. You want to do this, wear your mask. It's just what it is. And I think everybody has a great appreciation for that. But what I don't want is that appreciation, how when normalcy happens. It happened after 9/11.
Yep.
People get back to normalcy. And it's like, hey, but we're not there yet by any means.
Hey, and we don't want to lose this chance to bring sports back here in this area. And you know what? We're worried about our athletes. We're worried about our coaches. We're worried about the officials. We're worried about the school personnel. But most of all, you know what? We got to worry about each other. And by wearing the mask, by washing your hands, by social distancing, it's going to happen. And, we're both teachers. We had a faculty meeting Tuesday before we opened up today. And the assistant principal, Shamari Guilford, said to the faculty, all right, I want people to volunteer and tell us if they can go anywhere where their happy place would be. And I got on there and I said to the whole faculty, my happy place would be sitting across the street in that new Savannah Chatham County Public School Stadium, watching those kids that played so hard or practiced so hard to get that chance to do it, or in the gym, watching those volleyball girls or watch on the softball field. That's my happy place because it's all about the kids. And if the adults and the friends of those kids don't do their job, I'm not going to have a happy place.
Yeah, it is. And that's why we do this. And that's why Greg and Frank and Jake and Dennis do it because
Amy and Lindsay and Connor.
They love it. It's a passion. Nathan Dominance as
Nathan
well.
Dominance, can't forget about Nathan.
Because they have a passion for it. They love sports. They love covering stuff. They love telling the story about it. And we're blessed to have those guys in Savannah. And hopefully we continue to tell those stories throughout the fall.
That's what we do. So we got to get out of here. It's 45 minutes. Don't forget, we are at Coach's Corner, the universe of
the center of the sports universe, right here at Coach's Corner, center of sports universe.
Even though Rubbin' and Grubbin', the other Coach's Corner Sports Network show, got their food, we got nothing. So Lawrence didn't take care of us. But don't forget, tonight out in the Sound Garden, we got Pub Star Trivia, and there's about 20, 30 people out there. Tomorrow night, new music theme, Nashville Nights, okay? So Nashville country music. Tomorrow they'll have Cole Decker, okay, starting at 7 o'clock. Friday night, we got the Eric Culberson Band. Right now it's up to like 90 guests are coming. On Saturday night, we got Big Engine. Over 145 people have already registered to come. Hey, Coach's Corner, all sports, all music, all the time.
It is the center of the sports and music universe right now in Savannah.
It's the center of food, but we get nothing here, okay? But anyway.
We got masks.
Yes, we got our masks. Hey, Lawrence, how do we look? Are we rubbing and grubbing guys yet? Oh, sorry.
Mine's not.
I was. There we go.
Wear your mask. Wear your mask.
Wear your mask.
Wash your hands. We'll see you guys next week.
Once again, I'd like to thank our sponsors for making this possible. Coach's Corner, John Henderson and Dell, thank you for helping us out. Remember, we're right here on the Coach's Corner Sports Network every Wednesday night, every Saturday morning. We got hopefully a little lacrosse talk with the new lacrosse coach over at Calvary Day School. We got the Athlete of the Week. This young lady committed in March to go to UNC Chapel Hill. Okay. And it's to play softball. Alex Brown from South Effingham. And I'm trying to work out Savannah Hockman. Kyle Hockman, head coach over at New Hampstead. She just got promoted to the football operations director at Savannah State.
I love it, man.
It should be a great lineup. We're going to be looking forward to it. So until we see you on Saturday morning, may it be your best week ever. And whatever you may be doing, always hit it out of the park. Now, wash your hands. Be safe. Go ahead. Show them what they got to do.
Wear your mask. Let's go.
God bless.
We want sports. We want you to be able to watch sports.
God bless. We'll talk to you on Saturday morning. Great show. Thanks to all the sports media guys.